you fallen out of love with our NHS? For decades, we've been told our health service is the envy of the world, that whenever we can't get an appointment or are left on a waiting list for days, weeks, months, years even, that it's only because we're not putting enough money into it. If only the government weren't so tight-fisted and penny-pinching, all its problems would be solved. Then we're told the only other option available to us is the system in America, a country where millions are left sick and untreated if they can't fork out for private insurance. We're told that we should be grateful simply for its very existence. The principles of the NHS were to be universal, high quality, equitable, comprehensive, free at the point of delivery and centrally funded. Can we honestly say our NHS is staying true to these principles? If people are waiting months and years for routine operations, is the NHS still universal? Universally inadequate, perhaps, unless you happen to have won the postcode lottery. Is it high quality? Well, not if we judge it on its record of keeping people alive. We consistently rank near bottom in the category for patient outcomes compared with other developed countries. Is it equitable? With nearly 6.4 million people, a staggering 1 in 9 of the population, stuck in queues for routine treatment in England, I'm not so sure. 306,000 people have been waiting for more than a year for their operation. Freezing prescription charges, as announced today, won't make up for that distress of not knowing when you'll be treated. Is it comprehensive? Well, if you've tried to get a GP appointment recently, I don't think so. And as former Health Secretary Jeremy Hunt describes in his new book, the NHS was at times a rogue system under his leadership, suffering from a cover-up culture which led to tragic and avoidable deaths. But is it still free at the point of delivery? Well, yes, it is. But according to a recent survey, 85% of patients on NHS waiting lists have paid for or are considering private medical treatment. That's hardly a sign of resounding success on that front. But hey, at least it's remained centrally funded. Yes, the pandemic has a lot to do with the extreme backlogs the NHS is now facing. It was plain for all to see that from March 2020, the NHS became a COVID service rather than a health service. But to blame the backlog on COVID would be a lie. Even before the pandemic, England waiting lists were at a record high of 4.4 million. And we still weren't brilliant at keeping people alive then either. Last year, the NHS budget reached in excess of £170 billion. So, if we want to increase it, where on earth does that money come from? And the system, it isn't serving those within it either, unless you happen to be part of the managerial elite. Then you're quite likely to be earning more than the Prime Minister. Or perhaps you've got on board with the diversity and inclusion industry and bagged yourself a 60k job for telling people to check their white privilege. For hard-working doctors and nurses, the system isn't serving them either. Why does our establishment suddenly become little Englanders when it comes to health? Some on the left may like to pretend that it's a binary choice between the NHS or the evil US system. It's not. There's a whole wide world out there. Switzerland, Belgium, the Netherlands, Germany and Israel all achieve universal access to high-quality healthcare, but they do this through a social health insurance model. We've now got the highest tax burden since Clement Attlee's socialist post-war government. It was reported today that 2.5 million more taxpayers will be dragged kicking and screaming into the top 2 tax rates by the next election. At the same time, we're facing the biggest squeeze in our living standards since 1956. Sure, we could continue to pour record amounts of money into the NHS. It might even improve things a bit. But patients and those working in the NHS deserve more than cash. It's time for an honest conversation about how we can make the NHS fit for purpose. What's more important, tell me, protecting the NHS as a sacred cow or saving lives?